Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. We are here today to review the pilot episode of Gotham, the long-awaited Fox series that tells the origin of Jim Gordon and Gotham City. I'm joined with Eric Bratlian, and my name is Adam Hlavik. How are you doing?
Great.
It feels like we just did this with another show.
I know, right?
Oh, because we did.
Weird how that works.
So yeah, Gotham just premiered on Monday night, Fox at 8 p.m. and the basic premise of the show is that it takes place before Batman becomes Batman, and it's about Jim Gordon and all the corruption in Gotham City and all about the crooked underground organization that's led by Carmine Falcone and how he kind of manipulates not only the police department but any political body in Gotham City, and he has basically full control over all of the criminal underground. And in this first episode, we meet Jim Gordon, who's played by Ben McKenzie, and Harvey Bullock, who is his partner, played by Donal Logue. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to give our initial opinion about the pilot or all the episodes. Then we'll go into spoiler territory, and at the very end, we'll kind of wrap up our review, give it a rating, and that'll be it. So, Eric, what did you think of the pilot episode of Gotham?
That was
a long pause.
I was intrigued. I'm not super. I don't know a ton about the Batman universe. I've seen the Batman movies that everybody's seen. I've seen some of the animated cartoons, but I haven't put a ton of research into the universe and world of Batman.
So you're going into a very fresh, clean-slated mostly.
Essentially, yeah. I don't know a lot of the secondary background characters. I wasn't familiar with with this partner that he has. I didn't really know this person existed before now. I'm of course familiar with the main characters and bad guys like most everybody is, and we see lots of cameos by them. Most of the big ones you see at least in the episode, or talk to for a moment, or get an idea of. You're like, okay, this person's going to be in here. So that was interesting to see those people brought in. I like the way it looked. I think it has a real cool look to it. And I mean, I was even streaming it, so I'm sure on TV, like that, it looks great in full quality. I like the look of Gotham. I think a lot of the effects were done pretty well, and I think it's shaping up to be a pretty solid show. I think.
What did you just initial thoughts? What did you think of the acting?
The acting, I think it might be a thing with a lot of shows. The kid acting, I'm not a big fan of. Bruce.
Those are really hard ones to sell.
Yeah, it's really tough to find a good kid actor, I think, and Bruce was okay. He wasn't bad, but I wasn't totally with him in some of his moments. I thought James Gordon. I think he's good. I like the casting on him. He's kind of the hot-headed new guy on the force coming in, trying to make a name for himself. And his partner, I think he's well cast. I think he's doing a good job. Alfred seems a little bit more gangster, maybe, than the Alfred. Yeah, a little more aggressive and a little more hard speaking and sort of than we've seen in Alfred before. Which, I mean, we've always seen him older, so this maybe was what he was like even the other Alfreds in his youth. So it's interesting to see that. And then, we see little glimpses of other characters. The Penguin, he was okay. He was just a weird person, but I mean, he's a weird person, so it's hard to say that was any issue with any of the acting. It was just that the character itself is an unusual character. But overall, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the people that they cast. And Jim Gordon's fiancée as well. I don't know, she seemed a little okay. She wasn't quite as good as some of the other people necessarily, but I mean, it's still only the pilot episode. They've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I still think it looks like it's going to be solid.
What did you think about Jada Pinkett Smith's character, Fish Mooney, which is actually a character that does not exist in the comic books? It was created strictly for this show.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about it, because you told me earlier that character was made up. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like she's sort of there to just be there for a little while. I don't know how long she's going to last.
She's not a permanent resident of Gotham.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like she's going to be. But yeah, I mean, she was fine. She definitely pulled her own. She seemed intimidating. Right when we were first introduced to her, I don't know if I was super, like, under the influence, like, oh, she's totally...
Completely sold on
Yeah,
her.
I wasn't totally sold right at the beginning, but I think over time, I kind of bought it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. My overall impressions of the pilot, and, you know, I've read more Batman comics, I know a bit more of the mythology, so this is the first time we've actually ever seen Harvey Bullock in live action. Mm-hmm. There have been interpretations of him in the movies and in the TV shows, except for the animated series. It's actually the first time we actually see Harvey Bullock.
I just want to say really quick,
yeah.
His name, I kept thinking either... It's like a mixture between Harvey Dent and Sandra Bullock. That's the only way I can remember what his name is. Like, I don't know why, but it's like those I just think of those two people immediately every time I hear his name. But continue. It was a thing that like kind of took me out of it a little. I kept thinking Harvey Dent, and I'm like, no, this isn't Harvey Dent. Yeah. It's Sandra Bullock. No, it's not Sandra Bullock.
Not a very cute Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the pilot. I saw this pilot at Comic-Con. And the first thing that I saw the pilot for Gotham, Flash, and Constantine. And out of all the pilots, this one was actually my least favorite. And I think it's a really hard sell to do a show like this because we just had a very good Batman trilogy. So we have this idea of what these characters should kind of look and feel like, what Gotham City should feel like. And to me, I'm not too crazy about the way they made Gotham look. To me, every single time they try to do a live-action Batman, minus the Nolanverse, they try to give it a very gangster, gothic, smoky, hazy, cloudy look, which I'm not always so into because I can tell, obviously we can tell that's very CG'd.
Yeah.
The one thing I like about the Nolanverse is that they used a real city as the base. They used Chicago. With this, they obviously use New York. But I feel like they overdo it so much, they overcomplicate the look of the city, that I don't really feel like it needs it. You can already take a pre-existing city that looks already run down and kind of gothic and dark and just kind of let it be how it is. And you obviously need to change the look of the city a little bit so it doesn't look like New York, it looks more like Gotham.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things for me. In terms of the acting, it's the pilot episode, so it's really hard to judge the acting on the first episode because... all these actors, even the kid actors, the pilot was shot so long ago, they've now had time to kind of grow into the characters a bit. So I have a feeling after the pilot, once we get into episodes 2, 3, and beyond, the characters will kind of feel more comfortable, or the actors will feel more comfortable in the characters. I like Ben McKenzie as Jim Gordon, and I'm actually glad that he doesn't have a mustache like the normal Jim Gordon would. I think, you know, for his age, I'm sure they're playing him as like a 30-some-year-old Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's new to the force. He kind of doesn't know his place. He's trying to be that good cop who's trying to really rid Gotham City of all crime. And, you know, a lot of people are not going to like him for that. And which is very much how he is in the comics. He comes to Gotham to try to clean up the city. And the criminal underground is not going to have it because they run the city.
Yeah.
I really like Donal Logue as Harvey Bullock. It was nice to see that character finally be portrayed in live action. And then Renee Montoya is another character from the comics, as well as her partner. And it's cool because in the animated series, Montoya and Bullock are partners in that. So it'd be cool to see once Jim kind of gets promoted into his bigger roles in the police department to see if that's going to be a swappage of roles, if he's going to now partner with Montoya and all that stuff. So, but yeah, they did have a lot of little hints to characters to come.
Yeah.
Which I'm not that crazy about. I kind of feel like they're trying to blow their bat load in one episode. You know, and it's no secret that the Riddler shows up in this episode, or Edward Nygma. He's been in all the promos.
Yeah.
They've promoted all the villains. You know, you saw Ivy Pepper, which I don't know why her name is Pamela Isley in the comics. I don't know why her name's Ivy Pepper.
Yeah, as soon as she said, "Oh, my name's Ivy," I'm like, her name was Ivy?
Yeah.
And like, Ivy Pepper? Like, I didn't know that was her name.
Yeah, which I mean, they could play it off that Ivy Pepper's her birth name and then she changes it to Pamela Isley. Who knows?
Yeah.
Edward Nygma being a investigator, I thought was really cool. I didn't read the comic, but I believe there is an alternate universe where he is a detective in the comics who helps Gotham City police, who works on the police force. So I like that approach. I thought that was really cool, but I didn't like the fact that the second we saw him, he was just he was already throwing riddles out at Jim and Harvey. I was like, come on, let him just be Edward Nygma. Let that character progress into being the Riddler. Who else did we see? Fish Mooney. Always the thing with like female gangster characters is, and I don't know if it's written this way or if for some reason the actors always feel the need to kind of portray them very much. They always have this like weird tone to their voice, this weird accent, which I don't really. They always try to sound like the Catwoman from the old '60s TV show, with like a very slithery voice, and I don't know, just be the female villain, you know, just be a villain. Don't try to put on an act. It felt very much like theater to me, especially with the scenes with Harvey Bullock and Fish. She felt very theatrical, which is fine. I don't. The show's supposed to be in some form of reality, but to me, the most realistic characters in this show were Jim and Harvey.
Yeah.
The Penguin, I think he plays it well. You know, it's kind of a ridiculous character. Like, you know, he's supposed to look like a penguin, and obviously the show's supposed to be more realistic based, so they're not going to make him completely look like a penguin. But yeah, I like Jim's girlfriend, Barbara Keene, which is I mean, there's just so many references to like future things. Sarah Essen, who's their captain, she ends up being with Jim Gordon in the future and married, and so they're dropping all these things, and you do have to do that to a certain extent, but I feel like in the pilot it was a little bit overwhelming. You know, they open, not really a spoiler, but you know, the episode also has Catwoman in it, or Selena Kyle, which she doesn't really have a purpose in the show.
Yeah, she just sort of is sitting there slinking around.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she's sitting up on.
Yeah, at Wayne Manor on the wall.
And
Jim Gordon like just drives right by.
And we look at her, and it's in broad daylight. Yeah. She's clear. You can see her, and he just doesn't seem to notice.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't really, because I know the next episode it's about Selena Kyle. You didn't need to introduce her in the pilot. You could have saved her for the second episode.
Yeah.
And what else? Alfred. I actually liked Alfred. He very much reminded me of his portrayal in a comic book which came out, I think the year before last. It was Batman Earth 1. And the backstory of Alfred is that he's a former member of British SAS. So he's a soldier. He's not really a butler. And he was hired by Thomas Wayne to be more of a bodyguard than a butler. So that was kind of cool. That's why I think he kind of has more of that attitude, which I liked. It was nice to see Alfred be more than just the butler who just comes and serves coffee and tea. He's a little bit more aggressive, and you know, he has this attitude. And Bruce Wayne, I think the actor who plays Bruce does what he can with what he has on the paper. And you know, we see that Waynes get murdered in this episode, which is all over the advertisements too. So I feel like there was no real surprises to the pilot. They advertised it so much. It was kind of like Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they give you everything in the trailers, and you weren't really left with too much surprise.
But really, at this point, like, if you're watching this show, you've at least seen some Batman movie, probably. I mean, nobody's going into this not knowing anything about the Batman universe. So it's like all these things. Why try and surprise people with is something that's already a backstory? It's like, you know that this is going to happen. Get it out of the way. It's like, not everything has to be a surprise in the first episode. It's setting up the universe and the characters, not necessarily the backstory. Yeah, like and you know, to see the Wayne family get murdered in the first episode, you're kind of expecting that. Yeah. I just wish some of the characters wouldn't have been thrown in. Like, you have one scene with Edward Nygma, 2 scenes with Selena Kyle. Doesn't say anything. Don't throw all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. Let it progress. You know, and now they're already talking about bringing in the Joker, and it's like, no, just let this show have some longevity. Yeah. We don't need the Joker in this season. Let's worry about Penguin, then we can worry about other characters, and then, you know, just kind of let it snowball naturally. Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean, I still liked it. I just think that they need to maybe just slow things down a little bit, and let's just focus on Jim Gordon and GCPD and the corruption. Like, I think that's what made the Dark Knight movie so appealing to people, was because it's about corruption and politics and all that stuff. You don't want it to be too political because you want all audiences to enjoy it. But overall impression, I think focus less on trying to stick every single Batman character into this first season and focus more on just developing a good arcing story that can continue for the whole entire season. So wrapping up, I felt that I enjoyed the show. I'm being not super familiar with everything. I felt like I was kind of learning about some of these other characters and finding out about what Gotham was like before Batman got to it. Essentially, like it's worse and it's crazy to think that, because it's like it's pretty bad when Batman's there. For it to be worse, that's pretty bad.
That's really bad.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, to just see where they can take this show, and considering they brought in plenty of people for them to use, they've got enough stuff to keep them tided over for a good while, and give everybody a little bit of screen time, and build these characters and explain a lot of these backstories, which we get little glimpses of, but we don't fully, of course we're not going to fully realize everything about them right away, but I'm excited to see where all these different paths go. And even though it did have some low points, it had enough high points, and I was interested enough to at least want to watch another episode and watch it get better and hope that it gets better. And so overall, I'd give the episode maybe like a 7 out of 10. Still pretty solid, but it had a lot more to go to be really good and like a perfect show pilot.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you. I would also give it a 7 out of 10. There were some things that I think worked really well, some characters that I thought were introduced well. I think Jim and Harvey and all that stuff was introduced really well. It was nice to see those characters finally in live action mode. I didn't think you need so many villains. I think you could have just introduced Fish Mooney and Oswald and Carmine Falcone, and that was it. Yeah. I don't think you needed Ivy Pepper. I don't think you needed Edward Nygma or Selena Kyle. I would have saved those guys for later. Mm-hmm. I think there's an interesting dynamic between Harvey and Bullock. I like the tension that's between them, because you can tell it's a very love-hate relationship, where he doesn't want to deal with Gordon. He doesn't want to babysit him, but he also trusts Gordon more than Gordon trusts Bullock. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's going to be interesting to see where this progresses, where it goes, what Oswald's role is essentially going to be in this first season, and how they're going to continue to include Bruce Wayne in the story. Because I don't really think that the whole season is just going to be about finding the person who killed Bruce's parents. I think that's going to be one of the major arcs of the season, but I think introducing all these characters will also be a big part of it. So it'll be interesting to see how Bruce's story is kind of weaved through it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like the cinematography. I thought the look of Gotham was a bit much, but I also kind of have a biased opinion because I'm going into it knowing a lot of the mythology of Batman, whereas you're going into it fresh. Yeah. So I'm actually surprised that you did like it as much as you did. I didn't think you would. So it's cool to just see a different opinion of someone who's not so familiar with Batman, as opposed to me being more familiar with it. I'm not so familiar that I know everything, but I know it very well. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. So I think we both share the rating of a 7 out of 10, which is still a pretty solid pilot.
Yeah, go watch it at least.
Yeah, definitely give it a chance. I liked it more than other pilots that I've seen.
Yeah, it's not something where you'll regret watching it. Yeah. Like, if you like Batman at all, just go give it a shot. Yeah, of course.
It's got momentum.
Yeah, it does, and I think it's definitely got the ability to go someplace good.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up. It's a little bit of a longer review because it's a pilot, so there are a lot more things to cover. Yeah. But definitely check it out. It's on Fox Mondays, 8 p.m. We hope you come back and follow us on our future reviews of this show. If you want to subscribe, youtube.com/thefilmpundits. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the Film Pundits. Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at thanksfortheview with a 4 in the middle.
And you can find me just under Adam Havoc. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought of the pilot, what you think of the mythology of Batman, and how you think they're going to try to intertwine all these stories and eventually leading into what we know as canon Batman. Yeah.
And you said it's on Fox's website, right?
You can actually also watch it on Fox.com.
Yep, just go to Fox.com and watch the first episode and come back. Let us know what you thought.
Yep. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
See ya.